Good evening. Welcome to Lower Frederick Township Board of Supervisors General Meeting for July 7th of 2026. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All members of the board are in attendance, including our staff, township manager, our engineer, solicitor, and our chief of police. Township meetings are recorded for the purpose of preparing the minutes, and the recording is destroyed after the minutes are approved. The meeting will be posted online on the township YouTube channel. The link can be found on the Board of Supervisors page on the township website. It is requested that all persons wishing to speak before the board shall state their name, address, and the subject matter upon which they wish to speak for the record. In the interest of facilitating the business of the board, all persons addressing the board shall be limited to 3 minutes, unless such time is extended by the chair for good cause. Individuals are requested to remain in their seats and to respect when other persons are speaking. The Board of Supervisors will provide a reasonable opportunity for citizens to comment on any non-agenda items after all agenda items have been addressed, but prior to the adjournment of the public meeting. First on our agenda this evening is administrative actions with the approval of the meeting minutes. Has anyone have any questions, any changes? Okay, hearing none. The motion is to approve the May 5th, 2026 general meeting minutes. Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Supervisor Sachs makes the motion. Is there a second? I will make the second. All of those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Next is the treasurer's report. Jason?
Okay, so the overall financial position for the township remains strong through the end of June. General fund revenue is $1.81 million, which is $159,000 or 9.7 over budget, and 3.9% higher than 2025. General fund expenses total $1.38 million, approximately $59,273 or 4.5 over budget, but only 47.2 of the annual expense budget has been spent, indicating that our expenditures overall are on pace for the year. Our strong revenue performance continues for real estate transfer, which is 104.5 over last year and 84,000 over budget for this year. Our earned income tax is actually up from last year by 3.3%. And our real estate tax is up 2.7% through June 30th from last year. Our weakest category is Comcast fees, which remains below budget by like $1,200. Overall, the net income for the general fund is $432.59. We have had some higher than expected expenditures with contract services, engineering, building repairs and maintenance, police health insurance and overtime, planning, zoning consultant and legal services, and public works vehicle maintenance. Savings has occurred in legal services, wages, health insurance, and road contracting. Our sewer fund revenue is $545,258, approximately $13,000 over budget. Expenses are essentially on budget. We're only $549 over budget. Our net income is $926. Which is $13,000 better than we budgeted. Additional revenue includes the $4,000 sewer line assessment that was not budgeted for this year. As far as our other funds, our general capital fund, revenue exceeded budget due to the fundraising donations, interest earnings, insurance reimbursement, and our expenditures reflect the police vehicle, public works trailer, and park and rec fundraisers. Liquid Fuels Fund, revenue is nearly at budget, while only 16.5% of our annual expenses have been spent, but those projects will be hitting us in July. Open Space Fund, net income of $67,000, which is exceeding budget by $13,000 with minimal expenditures. As far as administratively, the paperwork for the 2027 dump truck purchase has been completed and submitted, and the township has successfully transitioned from Victory Bank to QMB, and so far, knock on wood, we've had no reported issues.
Okay, thank you, Jason. I'm going to read off the fund balances as of June 30th of 2026. The general fund has $1,151,966. General Capital Fund has $481,224. The Hydrant Fund is $19,762. Open Space Fund is $422,059. CD Open Space is $108,017. CD General Fund is $1,409,452. Liquid Fuels Funds is $567,147. Developer Escrows, $458,820. Sewer Fund is $139,585. Sewer Fund Escrow, $54,141. Sewer Capital is $484,850. And the Sewer Fund is $216,034. We'll move on to the payment of the bills for May 30th through June 29th of 2026. The general fund payout is $114,299,082. The sewer fund is $61,681.45, and the general capital fund is $898.60. Can I get a motion to pay the bills?
Also move.
Supervisor Hexter makes the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Supervisor Sachs makes the second. All of those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Next is our professional staff reports. Carol, engineers report.
Thank you. The first three items on my report appear later on the agenda, so I'll address them at that time. Just some general information on the Creekside Way project. Calculations have been generated to model existing pond conditions and develop potential basin improvements to enhance water quality, including replacement of the existing corroded pipe. We are currently investigating the easements created for this basin to determine what rights and responsibilities were conferred upon the township within those depicted easements. At Melbourne Hill, the site work continues. Work was performed on the sanitary sewer lines to address concerns raised by the sewer engineer. A fire hydrant was installed along Little Road near the trail or emergency access. And a stilling basin near Noah's Way was filled, and conversion of the sediment basin at the bottom of Noah's Way to a detention basin is ongoing. All the other items on my report reflect essentially the same status as last month, so I'll stop there and be happy to address any questions the board may have.
Does anyone have any questions or comments for Carol? Okay, not seeing any. Thank you, Carol. We'll move on to our solicitor's report.
I have nothing new to report this month unless anybody has any questions.
I have none. Does anyone else? Okay, thank you, Colby. Next up is the township staff reports. Go ahead.
Thank you. For the month of June, we had 392 calls for service. We conducted 58 traffic stops, issued 32 traffic citations for related offenses. And just some highlights of the month. I attended Leads training at Princeton University. The board was provided the press release with the details regarding the class. Officer Lauer attended training for search and seizure updates for Pennsylvania case law, which was hosted by the Pennsylvania Institute for Law Enforcement Education. Officer Bacon attended training for outlaw motorcycle gangs and the connection to the criminal enterprises. The training was hosted by McLaughlin in the Northeast Counter Drug Training Center. Officer Karminski attended drones for first responder training hosted by the Towamencin Police Department. Officer Karminski was trained in drone laws and regulations. Furthermore, has been certified as an FAA Part 107 pilot to fly unmanned aircraft weighing under 55 pounds. The board was provided several press releases for some arrests and incidents we had over the month. And just want a statement that any members of the police department would like to remind all residents that social media platforms are not monitored by law enforcement. Information discussed on these platforms is usually incorrect. If there's a specific concern that a resident may have, it can be addressed with the chief of police or another member of the police department. Concerns brought to the attention of the police department will always remain confidential. That is my report for the month, and if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them.
Does anyone have any questions for the chief?
I don't have a question, but I noticed that very few people understand the meaning of stop.
You would be correct.
It doesn't mean slow down and look. It doesn't mean just look ahead and pretend nothing else is happening. It means actually stopping your car. So I don't know if there's anything that you can do or we can do to remind people about that, because it's someone's going to get hurt one of these days, and thankfully, no one has been yet, I hope, but
I will relay your concern to the rest of the police department, and we'll take some proactive.
I don't know if you can maybe have a new sign that says stop means stop, that means, I don't know, but I'm kidding, but.
No, I understand completely.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Thanks for your service. Next up is the fire company. Evening, CJ.
Good. All right. Charles Jack, Fire Chief, Lower Frederick Fire Company. For the month of June, we had 26 calls, which brings our year-to-date to 122 calls for the year. We had about 13 different incidents that we responded to, meaning either a fire alarm, vehicle accident, building fires. For training, this month was a tanker shuttle over in Worcester Township. We did ropes and rigging, hydrant and hookups, and we did another tanker fill site with Station 78 Upper Southwood Fire Company. For the month, time in service, we were in service on our calls for over 15 hours, and training we had about 10 hours through the month of June. We have 2 new members, Kyle Reese, who's coming from Colmar Volunteer Fire Company, and Nate DiDonato, who is the fire marshal for Upper Frederick Fire Company, and he is coming from Perkiomen Fire Company. Our steak night fundraiser is August 1st at our firehouse. And then the only other thing I had throughout the month of June, we responded and handled 2 working fires in both municipalities. The fire in Schweigksville Borough occurred on 6-9 in the area of Summit Ave. Came in as a trash dumpster fire and ended up being an outbuilding in the backyard of a home. Fire was put under control and investigated by FM 73. And then the fire in Lower Frederick, which was on 623 in the area of 2nd Ave. Crews arrived and we had a basement fire with smoke throughout the entire dwelling. Fire was placed quickly under control and was investigated by FM 73 and RFIT 1. No injuries were reported. I'd also like to thank 308 downstairs for showing up and providing rehab, and the police department for just getting everyone out of the way. So, any questions?
I have none at this time. Does anyone have any questions for CJ?
Is the burn ban been lifted, or is it still in effect?
It is still in effect, from my
Okay.
understanding.
All right,
Thank you for your time, CJ.
thank you.
Next is the ambulance. Jason, you can do ambulance, public works, sewer, and zoning, correct?
Yes.
Okay, go for it.
All right, so the ambulance in the month of June had 31 calls in Lower Frederick for a year-to-date total of 120. They had 72 calls in their primary coverage area for a total of 353 year-to-date. And they did 32 calls for mutual aid, which is outside their primary coverage area, and they have a total of 194 year-to-date. Public Works. The Public Works performed the following work in addition to routine operations. They completed 3 sewer inspections, completed road mowing, performed equipment repairs on the skid loader, road mower head and mill head. They managed the mowing contractor, mowed some of our open space, installed dog waste stations at Foy, Coble, and Village Center Parks, cleaned tree debris from storms, cleaned cascade and filter at the sewer plant, patch paved multiple locations on Zieglerville Road. They maintained the landmaster trail easement, installed new chairs in the meeting room, installed new fountain at Village Center Park, and started the install of the shade sails at the Cuddy Dog Park. I still don't have a sewer. I have reached out to Mr. Preston, so I will follow up with the board when I get that report.
That's fine.
As far as the zoning report for June, there were 7 building and 10 zoning permits received for a total of 17. There was 10 building and 12 zoning permits approved for a total of 22. And the 4 building and 5 zonings were completed for a total of 9 for months of June. We had 27 burn permits, 5 resale UNOs, 1 special event permit, and 1 vendor, and we received 10 pumping reports.
Okay. Now we're going to move on to our board and commission reports, the EAC. Gary, thank you. Remember to get up nice and close.
Okay. Good evening. The EAC is continuing to trying to get together with the Planning Commission to discuss the draft lighting ordinance. We haven't been able to do so. Hopefully, we'll be able to meet with them at their meeting next week. At the June Board Supervisors meeting, we brought up a request to develop a single-use plastic bag ordinance, and we were requested to research other municipalities that were similar to Lower Frederick Township, and we have done so. Most such ordinances are in higher density townships, but we did find a couple. West Vincent Township and Charlestown Township both have lower population densities than Lower Frederick, and they have bag ordinances, single-use plastic ordinances, somewhat similar to what we'd like to propose. And with the board's okay, we would like to move forward on coming up with an ordinance. We would compare transition periods so that, with what other municipalities have done, and certainly have some sort of outreach program so that the residents are aware of what's happening.
Okay, were you looking for a response back, or are you
Yes,
finished?
yes, if you,
Oh,
okay for us to move forward.
On the bag ordinance?
On the bag ordinance, yes.
Single use.
Single use.
Single-use plastic ordinance, yes.
Okay, and is that something we can maybe ask Peter to look at, as opposed to having you guys write an ordinance? Okay, we'll have Peter look into that and circle back with you, is that good?
Sure.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Yeah, he'll be back in a couple weeks.
Colby's taking copious notes, we're good.
Yeah, it just might be easier if he has something out there that's, maybe you can have a conversation with him, and that
Okay.
might be more expedient.
Yeah, we'd be glad to. Okay, and lastly, our Did You Know for this month is a link to a United Nations webpage with 5 things you should know about.
Sorry, can you speak up, because I can't even hear you?
Our Did You Know for this month is a link to a United Nations webpage with 5 things you should know about ocean plastic pollution, speaking of plastic. So,
Terrific, thank you, Gary.
thank you.
Okay, our next committee report will be open space, but I don't believe they actually had a formal meeting. They did a presentation with Matt Babbitt from the Heritage on open space, so there was no formal meeting. So next up will be the Park and Rec Board, and that would be Katie.
Okay, so for summer programming, we're doing final preparations for our concert, first one of the season on July 23rd. It's going to be Shabby Road, and Rita's Water Ice is going to be our vendor. We're continuing to plan for fall Perkiomen Pacers events. And then for fundraising, we are working with Upper Salford Township folks and a couple Upper Frederick to see about scheduling Movie on the Mountain. There's some changes over at Spring Mount, so we may be looking at alternative locations, but that is all still in the works right now. And then we're also looking at a potential fundraiser event in November. Park improvements, at last night's meeting, we did look over all of the park priorities, and we focused on evaluating the different capital improvement projects that we have, township park signs, and Coble Park basketball court revitalization we're going to be looking into. We're going to get started on the annual park inspections, and then we'll share any feedback with the township staff. Tonight on the agenda, you guys have a potential park board approval. We thank you for considering that. And then we also are going to be putting one forth at the August meeting, and we're looking to fill that final spot on the board. So that's exciting. And then we did get an update from Birdtown on, Diane, did you want me to share? Or okay, so Diane's looking for someone to step in as chair for Birdtown, so she came and gave a presentation to us on that, and we're going to help try to find a replacement for that. Any questions?
I have none at this time. Does anyone have a question for Katie? Okay, thank you, Katie. Next up is the Planning Commission. Anyone here from the Planning Commission?
Ernie.
Do you want to give it a go, Ernie? Yes, you can sit down. Ernie, hold on one second. Could you do me a favor? Just bend your microphone. There you go.
Our meeting was called to order June 18th, 2026 at 7 PM. All members were present. We had one member of the Board of Supervisors there.
Sorry, Ernie, just, have they been, have those minutes been approved? Have those minutes been approved, or are they still in draft?
Oh, they're in draft.
Well, they're in draft, you shouldn't read them, just give us the highlights.
That's what I'm going to do.
Okay, super.
Okay.
I have none at this time. Does anyone have a question for Ernie? Okay, seeing none. Thank you, Ernie. Appreciate that. Okay, next up on our agenda is the regular business. We are going to be moving our ordinance discussion for Village Mixed Use Draft Amendment to the end of our meeting this evening. So we'll start off with item B with the admin request regarding the township building sign discussion. Jason?
Okay, I'm just going to go through this as opposed to kind of doing the presentation, just kind of go through what you have in your packet. Just as a reminder, our total budget as far as cash was that we have for the sign is $32,904.50. We did present some different colors or types of stone examples. In our village center, we've got the large CVS sign, CVS building, Dunkin' sign, Dunkin' building, sidewalks, Wawa, and the Southbridge Station Spirits. So based from the last meeting, we've got two options in front of you. The first option would be the LED digital with a full base 2-pillar option. That would total cost for the sign would be $44,830. For stone base and veneer pillars, since one of the discussion points was more real stone, that would be an extra $11,950 for a total of $56,000 and change. We did provide some other base color options, and as a reminder for the board, we can move forward on the sign and still work through the material and the color after the fact. So Becky and I kind of thought about this, and we wanted to present a no base 2-pillar option to the board, similar to St. Mary's. So that's the second option. Total cost for the sign would be $43,000. Veneer pillars would be an additional $9,245. So obviously gives you a little different feel than the dual pillars with the base. Give the base color comparisons. I guess as far as the main questions for the board to consider, do we like option 1 or option 2?
So I'm going to make it real quick. I do prefer the second option. We can wait for design elements later. I would like to broach the topic that I have gotten some feedback from a couple of the other supervisors that there might be a question about some structural integrity and why we're kind of going with such a, is this really 10 foot tall? This one thing here, this, is that really 10 foot?
No, it's not going to be.
Okay,
The
all right.
pictures.
I'm hoping it's not 10 foot tall,
No.
but maybe the
That would-
idea
that
that we could maybe try and think about working within the $32,000 we already have, because it seems like every time it comes back, we've got this financial creep where it costs a little bit more, and it costs a little bit more, and it costs a little bit more. So I don't know if anybody else wants to speak to that, and how we want to move forward with that, maybe Daniel?
Well, we did agree that we wanted to have, the one we agreed on last time was in the range of 44,000. But there was a concern about the integrity of the faux stone.
Correct.
I think what would help me make a decision is if we have examples of these materials, because I can't visualize what this is going to look like. I'd like to actually, see it and feel it, I guess.
I think he said that we would have that option at a later time, but I think
Yeah.
right now it's, before we're kind of elbow deep into it. But I'm wondering if maybe we want to kind of pump the brakes on this and say, maybe we should consider something a little bit more modest with just a 2-foot base and something our road crew could do and put a sign on top of it, but.
Well, that's an option too, but we still, I think, agreed on the size of the sign. And I think what we need to talk about now is what material that base will be made out of. And if, in fact, this faux stone does have some structural integrity, I'm okay with that. I don't
know if it's the faux stone as much as it is how it's being constructed with a cage and
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'd like to,
pressure treated and some scratch coat and slap and stick
I'd
veneer
like
on
to
it. Yeah.
understand better what that is and how long it lasts and how it can take, some,
Is there anybody that could speak to that, maybe has some experience with it?
Terry, I actually want to hear your opinion, since you know more.
So do I.
I believe you were expressing some.
I think that you could put a footer on there, okay, out of concrete, and use block. And then you could buy the El Dorado stone and put on there. It's just like they do in front of all these homes that are built. Go up the Little Road, go to any of these developments, and it looks nice. I think it could be done cheaper than what I seen in his signs. He's putting an angle iron around, and then he's putting his board on, and then he's putting plaster on it, and then he's sticking the stone on too, which I just think that's a lot of money for a couple pieces of angle iron.
I'm in agreement.
I'd rather see the concrete base, and if you want a double pier, what you do is get a block, it's a chimney block, and you can run it up as a pier on each side, and that doesn't cost a lot of money. And then you put your El Dorado block around it or your stone. It's the stuff that you plaster and then it really sticks on, and you stack it.
It has a little bit more girth than what's
Yeah.
going to be used here,
And then
yeah.
you got your solid block behind it as a, instead of angle iron with wood on it. Okay?
I think we have some questions on the structural integrity of it.
Yeah.
And for the cost, I'm
Yeah,
kind of shocked.
I still want to know whether there's any other potential sign people we could reach out to. I mean, I was, for the same reason that Supervisor Sachs just mentioned, I was considerably underwhelmed with the description of the construction of this sign. I know there are masons, and I've seen how masons build these things, and I'm also perplexed at the amount, the cost of the non-sign work seems to be a little bit out of line with what I believe it should run to get.
Albeit, yes, it seems like a lot of money, and just to make sure everybody knows that not all of that money is coming out of the general fund. If we were to go with one or the other of these options, we're talking like anywhere between $11,000, $12,000, $13,000 so for a big sign. But at the same time, my concern isn't, well, yes, it's the cost, but second of all, it's what are we getting for that cost? What are we spending it on, like the structural integrity of it and the material, so.
Jason, would they be willing to be flexible about the non-sign work? Like, do they insist that they do all the work? I mean, how much flexibility do they have in terms of if we're looking for something different than they offer?
I mean, I could talk to them. Obviously, the grant that we have in place would be able to cover a portion of the electronic sign, so I think we'd still be okay there. If we were to do the work maybe differently or kind of piece it together. So I'll talk to them and ask.
What you want to ask them, Jason, is ask them if we have the frame
Yeah.
and everything there with a piece of steel that goes from pier to pier, if you want to go with two piers. If it isn't, if it's one pier and a flat bottom, they just build the sign and set it on there.
Okay.
And they anchor it right to that
Okay,
piece
yeah.
of steel, okay?
Yeah, because I obviously
Don't
that's not an option we've thought.
Because don't confuse them any more than what they.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm in concurrence with
right.
Supervisor
Great.
Sachs's suggestion.
Okay, great.
Someone in the audience.
Sure, could just come on up to that, yeah. Just state your name and your address.
Preston Stokes, 156 Steiner Way. Did you say the sign was electric sign? To address your concern, there's some really regal signs out there that are not electric, just backlit or uplit with uplighting, like really quality uplighting that makes it look real regal, especially at night when that light shines on that.
Like classy.
Like classy solar type lights that shine up to it. That could be a huge cost savings for you to address your concern, Supervisor Halter, and
Yep.
your concern, Mr. Sachs. Just a thought.
Thank you, Mr. Stokes, appreciate that. Okay, so you've got your, okay, so we're going to move on to the next item on our agenda this evening, that is
I would
the
just
Meng
like to-
Road.
I'm sorry, I just
sorry,
want to
go
add
ahead.
something really quick. In the meantime, because I am getting residents reaching out to me as far as not having anything out there, is there a way that we can put something, and one person had suggested like a sandwich sign. But there are people who are requesting to see that as they're driving home, a sign of some sort as far as the meeting, with the times, and I know it's time consuming, but this is also taking a lot of time.
We can look into it. I mean,
Actually, I think your idea of getting a temporary sandwich sign makes sense, because it's going to take us a while to get this resolved, and
Sorry to do it, but
Yeah.
they're blowing me up about it.
okay, well, all right.
If you could decide what you want, 2 piers or 1 pier, or like the L shape, you know, I could probably get an idea of what close to a cost with the concrete, the block, and then the stone. That's the stone you like that's on this.
I was leaning towards the 2-pillar, the 2 pillars on either side with the space underneath. I don't know how anybody else feels.
You would have to decide.
yeah.
Marla, do you have a preference?
As long as it lasts a while, I'm cool. And maybe then you can work with the office to, if you have
Crystal?
some information.
Yeah, I think the majority is speaking for the 2 pillars, so.
Okay, all right.
So you want it to look like option 1,
Yeah, just the 2 pillars, no base.
no base.
No base.
You're gonna, okay, so it'll sit on a piece of steel that goes from pillar to pillar.
It'll look like St. Mary's. Yeah, it'll look like St.
Okay.
Mary. If St. Mary's is the kind of the example we used.
All right. Thank you, Terry. Okay, next up is the Meng Road Act 537 Special Study Authorization to send to the DEP. Hold 1 second, hold your thought. Jason, what resolution is this going to be? What number?
This would be 2026R-14.
-14. Okay, quick overview, and then we'll,
My pleasure.
okay, thank you.
So a study of sewage facilities in the Meng Road area has been completed. The study concluded that extension of the public sewer collection system along Meng Road remains cost prohibitive. The recommended alternative is continued use of on-lot sewage disposal systems, supplemented with public education on proper use and required maintenance of on-lot systems. The 30-day public comment period for the Meng Road Special Study concluded on June 7th. Comments were received from 2 residents. Responses to the comments are included in this plan and will be sent to the commenters upon board approval. Once the board adopts this plan by resolution, it will be submitted to the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection.
Perfect, thank you. Does anyone have any questions about this? Any additional comments? Okay, not seeing any. The motion before us this evening is to adopt Resolution 2026R-14, the Act 537 Special Study for the Meng Road Planning Area dated January 5th of 2026, and authorize its submission to the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection as a revision to the township's official sewage facilities plan. Can I get a motion?
Also move.
Supervisor Hexter makes the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Supervisor Orff makes the second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Next on our agenda this evening is payment release authorization for the Babington Road base repair.
I believe that would be me again.
Go ahead.
So Saks and Sons Contractors completed the Babington Road pavement repairs and the cross pipe replacement last month. Tonight, we're recommending payment of their invoice for this work in the amount of $87,686.17.
Okay, does anyone have any questions?
I will recuse myself from
Thank you. Supervisor Sachs recuses himself from the vote. Not seeing any questions or comments. The motion before us this evening is to authorize the release of funds for payment application number 1, final payment in the amount of $87,686.17 to Saks and Sons Incorporated, verified by the Value Engineering memo and summary sheet dated July 1st, 2026, for the Lower Frederick Bavington Road Base Repair Project. Can I get a motion?
Also move.
Supervisor Orff makes the motion. I will make the second. All of those in say favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously with one recusal. Next is the payment release authorization for the emulsion for 2026 chip seal and fog seal. Carol?
So chip seal was placed on May 19th and 20th. Fog seal was placed a couple weeks later. An invoice for the emulsion and fog seal materials that were purchased through CoStars is presented this evening with a recommendation for payment of $87,535.45 for those materials.
Does anyone have any questions or comments?
A quick question, Carol. I find it interesting that the numbers are pretty close between the last one and this one. Is that just pure happenstance?
Well, we try to do about the same amount of roads every 5 years, so that would be appropriate.
Okay, thanks.
I just want to state that I saw them out doing some of the work, and they were very careful and vigilant. And when I stopped to talk to them, they explained to me what they were doing, and my sense was they did a really good job. And especially when they came back and they did some cleanup. They raked the stones and then did the top seal. So I was very impressed with their work.
Good.
Okay, so the recommended motion before us this evening is to authorize release of funds for the materials in the amount of $87,535.45 to Asphalt Maintenance Solutions LLC, verified by the Value Engineering memo dated July 1st, 2026, for the Lower Frederick 2026 chip and seal project. Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Supervisor Sachs makes the motion. Is there a second?
I will second.
Supervisor Jarena makes the second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. You have a question, Warren? Can you come up? Put that mic, put it on the dais. Thank you.
Warren Jacobs, Fulham Road. Carol, have you seen the condition of the girl off-road chip seal since the last heat wave?
I have not been down Gerloff Road in the past 2 weeks, if that's the
It
question.
might be a good idea to do that because the same thing that happened last year in that section by the bridge is happening on the further up part
Okay.
toward Limerick.
Thank you for letting me know. I'll take a look
I was
at
just
that.
wondering if there was anything that we should do about that. There's no stones anymore, and there's the tars coming up and sticking to people's tires and going to Limerick and stuff like that.
Good. Thank you for letting me know that, Warren. We'll take a look.
Okay, thank you, Warren. Next on the agenda is the Public Works request authorization for the dump truck body uplift. Jason?
Okay, so in sending the upfit quote to TP Trailers, they have requested a 30% down payment to pay for the actual materials for the upfit. This would be in the amount of $36,290.69. So I do know the board was considering putting some cash down. So that's what's in front of you tonight is authorization to put that 30% down payment for the upfit.
And these are funds that have already been set aside
Yes.
for, okay,
Yep.
so does anyone have any questions?
I just want to clarify that this is not 30% of the total cost, it's just 30% of the uplift cost.
Okay, thank you, yes. Okay, not seeing any other questions. The motion this evening is to authorize release of funds for the down payment of $36,290.69 to TP Trailers to allow the purchase and body equipment for the uplift of the 2027 Peterbilt dump truck. Can I get a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Go ahead.
Supervisor Jarena makes the motion, the second by Supervisor Sachs. All of those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Next is the Public Works request authorization for the sale of the 2008, how do you pronounce? Okay.
All right, so this was posted on Municipid from June 15th to June 25th. The starting bid was $500. We had received 17 total bids with 8 bidders, and the winner or tie bid was $4,000, which is what I'm looking for the board to accept tonight so they can pick their trailer up.
How do you split a tie bid?
What's that?
How do you split a tie bid? You had 2 bids that were, you said there was a tie?
Oh, no. There were 17 bids with a high bid, the high bidder.
Oh, my apologies. I heard that all wrong. I'm so sorry. Okay. So, yeah. The
Sorry,
high
my
bid,
look
not
was
the
low. I
tie
couldn't-
bid. All right. All right, the motion before us this evening is to accept the offer of $4,000 through Municipid for the purchase of the 2008, how do you pronounce that again? Thank you. Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Supervisor Sachs makes the motion. I will make the second. All of those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Next up is the appointment to the Park and Rec Board. Jason, did you want to speak to this?
Okay, so this is for Colleen Boyd. She submitted her application on 4/26. At the May 4th Park and Recreation Board meeting, the consensus was given by the board for her appointment to one of the open positions. And this would be to appoint Colleen Boyd to the Park and Recreation Board for a term ending 12/31/2028.
Okay, we have a thumbs up from the Park Board. Excellent. Okay, the motion this evening is to appoint Colleen Boyd to the Park and Rec Board for a term ending on December 31st of 2028. Can I get a motion?
Make the motion.
Supervisor Jorena makes the motion. Is there a second?
I will second.
Supervisor Hexter makes the second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Next is the resignation from the zoning hearing board by the zoning hearing board alternate. It's our understanding that Bob Burns has resigned as the zoning hearing board alternate. And I think this evening we're looking for a consensus to accept the resignation of Bob Burns as of July 7th of 2026 for the term that was ending on 12/31 of 2026 from the zoning hearing board. It's okay. Are we all in agreement and consensus to accept Robert Burns' resignation? I'm a yes.
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 Yes, okay. Okay, we have a general consensus. Thank you. All right, last on our agenda is...
I'm sorry, Noel. As a follow-up, we're going to post the position and seek
Oh, we're seeking
candidates.
replacements. Okay.
Because I do believe this would be something the board would want to interview any prospective
Okay, if we put
candidates.
something out, is there going to be a window? Are we going to give this 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
I mean, we can put it out for, a month and.
Do you want to give it 30 days?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just wanted to note that,
All right, so we'll be looking for potential alternates to discuss at our August general meeting then. Okay.
Well, we have to interview too. Might be tough to do all that by August.
Okay, we can do it in September then.
I mean, it's possible, we'll have to see.
We'll have to see, we'll play it by ear, but let's
exactly.
wait for 30 days to get
Just don't
some
want to make any commitments.
interest, of course, yes. All right. Ordinance, data centers and data center uses discussion. There is no discussion. This went out for advertising as of the 7th, was posted in the Mercury, correct? And this will be on our agenda for the July 21st, 2026 agenda.
I just have a question. Did we get any comments back from the County Planning Commission? Have they gotten back to us?
Not yet.
Because you had 30 days.
Yes, they're being drafted now.
Okay.
Okay, so we will have them in time for the meeting on the 21st. I assume so. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
All right, last on our agenda this evening is the Village Mixed Use Draft Amendment discussion. John, you're up again.
Let me just make myself comfortable here.
Hunker in.
So as of my last appearance here last month, I came away with a fairly short list of requests from you all, how to sharpen up this draft revised village mixed-use district. So I have some visual aids up here that I might refer to at some points, but I'm just going to go down through the list of the requested changes and describe how those, kind of take shape in the ordinance. So first of all was a request to address, vagueness in the conditional use list for the entry relating to the contractor business. It's actually more than just contractor business in the current ordinance. Did it reset? Oh, okay. We won't need that immediately, but I can get you the that file. So in the original ordinance, in the current ordinance, contractor establishments are on the list of conditional uses along with repair shops and trade schools. What I'm proposing is to break them out into 3 separate items on that list so as to handle them separately, not, kind of get them all tangled up. I offered some descriptive language taken from other ordinances that have been, written by MCPC in recent years, taken from those ordinances' use regulation sections to describe more of what is expected, of the nature of a contractor establishment, of a heavy repair shop, in contrast to light repair shops, which appear on that list of uses that are permitted by right, and then the trade schools, again, separately handled. Were there any questions about those proposed changes on the conditional uses at that entry there?
This is just my opinion, but I think given the size and the area that my preference would be not to allow heavy contractor. Like bike shop repair, yes, auto repair shops, no. That's my opinion. I'd like to hear what the rest of the board has to say. I'd like to remove that heavy repair shop, heavy contractor use entirely.
I would tend to concur with Marla. I would remove letter F, I think it is in the VMU document under 170-87.
I'll concur. The current code that we have,
It's G.
yeah, G is
So
heavy repair, yeah.
in the proposed.
Yeah, so our current code does not allow for that as it stands now.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's actually, it was originally prohibited, and we've struck out all the things that aren't prohibited to kind of make it, so here's all the things you can do. I think it would be completely antithetical to put it back in if it wasn't allowed before.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Were there any other comments or questions about that change?
Under conditional use only?
Just that first section regarding the
Just
contractor
that
repair.
first,
and-
we can get into
Okay.
the other stuff
All right.
later, but we'll go along with your.
Okay.
Okay.
Going on then, also on the conditional use list there, the village marketplace is stricken out from that first item A and replaced with grocery store market. Then under B, I had previously added in to the use of in, and that's removed since that was kind of unclear before. There were questions about what constituted an inn. It's not a use that is described in your ordinance currently. So I'm happy to pursue that at a later time if you really want to add in a use like that. But I think that it's not a part of the village mixed use right now. It wasn't a part of earlier discussions. And so it's something that I think would need some further development in order to incorporate in. So what I added in is now removed.
Okay. I would like to remove hotel and motel.
Okay. How does the board feel?
I would concur with the removal of hotel and motel from our village mixed
I
use.
I guess
agree.
like,
It's kind of a wild card, but yeah.
Go ahead.
no, I was just going to say, I'm okay theoretically with hotel motel, but we want to limit the size, and it's only can be 35 feet high, so I'm not quite sure who would want to be here with that limitation. Maybe call it small hotel motel or bed and breakfast.
We actually have allowances in other parts of our code for a bed and breakfast, which would be appropriate for this
Yeah.
as well. I'd rather see a bed and breakfast than an inn, but as you said, it
Okay.
takes a little bit more work. But a hotel motel, as it stands now, it allows for like a 50,000 square foot footprint, which we just went through all that work. Kind of seems like doesn't make any sense.
Right, it does seem to run counter. So is the consensus to remove hotel motel?
I think Crystal has something to say. Yes, go ahead.
That I agreed.
You
That was
agree?
it, yep.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
So it sounds like,
Yeah.
Terry, do you have any opinion on that hotel motel?
All depends on, like you said, the size.
Yeah, I think 50,000, like a footprint itself. We're not talking like a minimum lot size.
No,
All
that
different
is,
sizes of
Yeah.
those. I mean, some are like set out like a long rancher. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you could do them all different.
Yeah.
Two-story.
So it's a matter of size, then I guess. I would split the difference. But we'll get to size and of footprints, I suppose, at one point later on, but maybe we'll put a pin in
Yes.
this one for now.
okay. No change on the hotel motel yet.
Yeah,
It's on notice, though.
okay.
Okay. The dimensional requirements, moving on to the next section, has some proposed changes. So you requested a more village-appropriate size for the single-family detached. It had previously been referencing the neighborhood lotting standards. You requested 7,000 square feet. To correspond with that, I changed the minimum lot width as well, shrinking from the proposed 80 to 70. This is keeping it in line with the other dimensional standards for the other residential uses offered here. In my testing of this, after sending you the draft, I did find that this 15% building coverage limit became rather restrictive for a single-family detached at that smaller lot size.
Where is that at, the 15%? Where is that designated?
No, that's not on the slides.
Oh.
But that's the maximum building coverage. That's in the table of the dimensional
Oh,
regulations.
so minimum lot area and then maximum
Yes.
building coverage. I see, yeah,
Right,
15.
right. So I've
Yeah.
illustrated that, Jason, if you flip ahead, I think, to the next slide, just back one, or back two, yeah, there we go. So that bottom row there on the right, again, we've got that neighborhood lotting standard on the left, kind of off by itself, set apart a little distance. On the bottom, that is everything that is in the dimensional table. Up above, I have a couple of those uses called out where, as I was looking further, I noticed that the maximum building coverage was inconsistent. Most of them are at 30%. A few of the others are set to a smaller maximum building coverage. And so what I illustrated there is if they were all set to a maximum building coverage of 30%, what would that allow for? And that changes 4 of the residential use types. And you can see that it's a slight increase in the kind of, maximum building footprint. This is not intended to be, solely for the house. or for the primary dwelling. This is taking into account also garages, accessory buildings like sheds and greenhouses. and
I
stuff.
could see the wisdom of wanting to increase that 15.
Yeah.
Yeah.
15 alone, I mean, it's fine at half an acre, but as things have been whittled down for the
Right,
village.
exactly. Yes,
It-
it does,
yeah.
it doesn't math real well.
Yeah.
Doesn't leave a whole lot of options.
Right.
So is 30% enough for some of these smaller ones?
Yes, so the proposal that I'm offering you tonight, bringing you kind of new, is just to make it 30% consistently for all the residential types. And so what's illustrated there shows what that maximum building coverage would be for that minimum lot size. So for the minimum lot size, for the single-family detached, that would bring you to 2,100 square feet. For the lot line house, we're looking at a number that I can't read at that distance. Let me pull it up myself. We're looking at 1,800 square feet.
There you go.
The village house comes to 1,100 square feet. That is a rather small type there, hence the name village. The patio house is a little shy of 1,700 square feet, and then with the twins, we're looking at 1,200. For the duplex, 2,400, and for the two-family semi-detached, AKA the twin duplex, that comes to 1,800.
So this is assuming that a builder would have that minimum lot size, but they could theoretically go from, add a few hundred square feet and do something slightly different.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, but this gives us a really good idea of what we could see.
Right, we are setting
Okay.
thresholds here.
Yeah,
We're setting
great.
minimums.
So across the board, we're doing a 30% maximum building coverage
That is my proposal.
on
yes.
all of them.
Yes, all the residential types, they're in that table.
And that would aligns with the square footage of the structures you just read off there? With the
Yes.
patio being significantly the smallest one?
The village,
Or was it the
actually,
village
but
one?
yes, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the village, as originally conceived, I believe that type was meant to be sort of
Small.
where the, where the single-family detached is now kind of converging as we kind of modify things to all fit the village. So it's got,
Okay, I'm
Yeah.
willing to go with your recommendation, with the 30%.
Yeah, I'm willing to go with your recommendation. And John, when you redo the document, could you include this graphic in it so that, for future reference?
sure, I can
Yeah.
add illustration for
Yeah.
to help describe this, yeah. Right, any questions on that?
I'm good, we can move on.
Okay.
Could, before you move on, could we move back? Under uses permitted only by conditional use,
I think we're going to let him get through this first, and then we're going to go back and look at stuff.
there's only one thing. Everything else is done in that. I just wanted to, you have wholesaling of dry goods variety, general merchandise and clothing. And in my opinion, I think that should be dropped out of off of the list,
The whole entry there?
the whole entry.
Wholesaling of dry
Wholesaling.
goods, variety, and general merchandising
Yeah.
and clothing kind of leans more toward a warehouse
Okay.
Yeah.
establishment. I'll concur with Dan. Does anyone else have an opinion?
I guess what would be an example of that we can understand?
I guess the only one I can think of off the top of my head would be something like a BJ's thing where you
When
go there and
Yeah, when you purchase wholesale, you're buying large things in bulk and distributing out to other retailers.
So it
That's
kind of would,
wholesale.
I know what wholesaling is, but I'm just thinking, so it kind of would be a warehouse, so that would not be appropriate.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry to make you go back, I just wanted to,
No, that's
Finish
easy fix there. Thank you, Dave.
thank you.
Go ahead, John.
Okay. Moving on, back to dimensional regulations, just to note that further down in the proposed second section that refers to the non-residential uses, the grocery store has been modified, so the Village Marketplace, reflecting the removal of that conditional use, is gone and replaced with grocery store market and the requested 25,000 square feet maximum size, or maximum building footprint.
Are we in 17089 where you remove the Village Marketplace and it just says grocery? Is that where we're at here?
Yes.
Okay.
Grocery or market there.
Okay.
Then,
Oh, okay, I see. Well, we started looking at the neighborhood, we started with the grid. Okay, I see where we're going. Okay, they're written upside down here. Okay. Okay. So we're just noting here that the Village Marketplace has been removed and it's been replaced with the grocery store and market. It's been reduced by 50% down to 25,000 square foot, removing the freestanding supermarket and the freestanding buildings. I do have some questions about this, specifically as it applies to a 15,000 square foot other subject buildings here. I would either like to reduce that.
reduce from 15,000 square feet?
Yes. Reduce it, or at least have some sort of stipulation that it not be a single tenant occupation.
Oh, okay. How does the board feel about that? I have, I think, a slide that might help to kind of illustrate the matter towards the end, title of Village Development.
I have a different question on, under 170-89-9, B, A, place of indoor amusement or recreation, indoor sports facility, hotel, motel, 50,000 square feet. Can we delete that?
I was getting there.
Okay.
Yeah, the place of indoor amusement or recreation, indoor sports facility at 50,000 square foot, again, belies the 50,000 square foot grocery store. There are other parts of our code, industrial and recreational, that allow for this in a tiered conditional use perspective. Again, I guess we could reduce it or omit it.
Well, we're not allowing a hotel or motel, so couldn't the all other buildings, couldn't an indoor amusement or recreation, indoor sports facility be considered under C, which is all other buildings?
I believe, Marla, your interpretation is correct, yeah.
Okay, because I think if we're not allowing a grocery store to be 50,000 square feet, allowing something else to be that is going to just dwarf the entire area.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I want to do away with the option to have some sort of activity like that within the village mixed use. It makes sense. I just don't know if we needed it 50,000 square foot, because along with that comes parking. I mean, an indoor sports facility, the parking alone, the traffic that's going to be generated isn't conducive with a pedestrian-oriented area.
Right, and as you pointed out with the grocery store, the scale is very out of step with the rest of the village characters.
But I would like to have an option that if there's something to have like that on a much smaller scale, I'd be open to it.
Okay, yes, without any other specific standards, it would just default to that 15,000 square feet, because those uses, apart from hotel and motel as you requested, would remain on the list of permitted uses, either by right or by conditional use. They would just then default to the 15,000 square feet.
So all other buildings, 15,000 square feet, which I'm already talking about reducing, or?
Right, all other buildings is your backstop. So if you want to keep that at 15,000 or change it, what I've put on screen, well, what I've asked Jason to put on screen here is just zoomed in view of the village center showing those commercial buildings that have come in the last decade and a half with their sizes So the footprints shown, you can see the CVS is a little over 13,000 square feet. So that's kind of a reference point.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, I mean, what's the feeling of the board here? Is 15,000 a threshold, a maximum that's palatable, or does the
One-
village need something smaller?
When I read that, and I'm thinking about retail and commercial in the village mixed-use area, I mean, I could envision a scenario where you're using 15,000, but it's broken into, there's like 3 tenants in there, each operating their own retail facility, because that would be more consistent with the sizes.
Making it truly multi-use,
Yeah.
not just a one occupant.
Yeah, because if it's one occupant, it's a very large building, and I'm not sure, yeah, I'm not sure what retailer or restaurant or something, it seems more reasonable to allow it, like, split it into 3 or make it 10,000 and 5,000. Like if somebody has a restaurant, that could be in the 10,000 foot. Just think 15,000 would be too dominating in the village around the square, assuming there's a greenway.
Well, then what if we just stipulate, again, go back to the place of indoor amusement or recreation, indoor sports facility, and say it has to be that at 15,000 square feet. So it can't be a restaurant or a store.
Could that be worded that way?
I guess my question is, I feel
You're
like
I'm kind
we've
of,
got some
Yeah.
different talking points here that aren't quite linking up for me. Are we asking for a reduction in the maximum building footprint, or a requirement that the buildings have multiple tenants, multiple uses within them? Or both?
I don't know what a multiple-use building would be unless it's a mall. I don't like that idea at all. I think if someone has a
No, the
smaller
idea-
store, they should have a smaller store.
the idea is if they wanted to build something that was 15,000 square foot, and the footprint is 15,000 square foot, is to have multiple tenants in it, so that instead of having
Multiple
one
use.
tenant.
Look at Manning's, that's a multiple use
Yes.
building there, okay?
Yes.
Just look at Manning's.
But they are divided
The
up.
water ice, there's the hair, there's the nail guy,
Yeah.
person, that's a multiple use building.
Well, then you'd have to call it a multiple-use building, but that's different from if someone wants to come in and do like a kids' indoor recreation center, where you'd need a little more space. So I'm still going back to the A, which is indoor amusement or recreation, indoor sports facility. I see what you're saying, but I'm talking about something different.
Well, I thought we were taking that out altogether.
We're taking the 50,000 square foot out, but I'm proposing to leave that use in.
Oh, Marla, this is dimensional standards, so
Yeah.
that use is still on the list in the section before, talking about uses permitted by conditional
Okay,
use.
well,
So-
how many square feet do you need for like a indoor gym or a yoga studio or a kids recreational, kids indoor gym?
5,000, 7,500?
It varies by the specific, case that we're talking about. I mean, if you're talking about indoor recreation, like the, don't know the name of the business off the top of my head here, the trampoline places.
Yeah, it's a place
Timberline.
Warriors for, yeah.
Those often move into like strip malls where they might take over a smaller grocery store space, or, they can really use a lot of space. A yoga studio or some other small kind of fitness-oriented use like that, those can be very small spaces. I mean, 1,000 square feet, potentially.
If I think 15,000 square foot fitness, I'm thinking of like a gym, like a gym.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah, we would probably want to steer clear of like your Planet Fitnesses that are 30, 15, they occupy like, say, half of a mall, half of a grocery store's square footage, and I don't think that would fit in the thought patterns that we have related to size. I agree with you, you could have a karate studio, whatever, yoga, all those different types of fitness places. But once you trip over into general gym, franchise gym sizes are really pretty large.
So how do we come to a reconciliation on this, John? We have, if we keep 15,000 square foot footprint here and stipulate multiple use with not having one single occupying tenant, or do we reduce it to 7,500? Is this under conditional use, or is this as by right?
So this is in a section, uses permitted by conditional use. So
Okay.
these are the maximum building footprints for the uses listed in 170-87, uses permitted by conditional use. So as proposed, what you've requested is removing A, which would then make B, referring to grocery store market at 25,000 square feet, and then B, all other buildings 15,000 square feet. That's how it stands, removing that first one that's specific to indoor amusement or recreation, indoor sports facility, and hotel, motel. As discussed, hotel, motel is out of the district. Indoor amusement and recreation, indoor sports facility can stay, but they would then be in that second category of all other buildings.
Well, if the CVS is 13,500 feet, what if we have the maximum 12,500 feet, which is smaller than the CVS?
Not by much.
But it is smaller, and the CVS is not a humongous building. And it's still conditional use.
That would be.
I'd rather go low and have them come back and have to ask for something larger.
But then make it 10,000.
I agree with that.
Then make it 10, that's a nice even number. That's 2/3 the size of the CVS.
Or
You
we
could
can
still
make
put
it,
a,
or we could make it 75 and they can come back and ask for 10. Dan, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I would tend to agree with the assessment of Crystal and Noel to make it 10. And if somebody gets really dramatic, they can come and talk to us.
They might come forward with something that sounds so fantastic, we're willing to give them 10,000 square foot or 12,000 square foot. We can't give them an inch, they're going to take a mile.
So am I hearing the proposal is, or the request is 7,500 square feet? Cut in half, okay.
I mean, I would still like to be able to have that option, that if somebody wants to come to us with a plan that says, I want to put in a 15,000 square foot here, and I'm going to do 3 different separate tenants like Manning's, and I'm going to put some apartments up above, I would still like to be able to have the option to approve something like that.
Yeah, in line, sort of, that's what was in my mind, is you see a lot of places where whoever owns, the retail places are not often owned by the person who's running the retail shop. There's some other individual that owns the 3 different functions or 3 different units, and they rent them out separately, or lease them out separately to their tenants. And that's consistent with what you see even in old towns, yeah, where they'll wind up, somebody owns like 3 buildings in a row, and they rent them out separately to different, restaurant here, a yoga studio there, whatever.
Okay.
So it'd be nice if we had that option to allow them to do that.
All right. Okay. If there were no other questions about the dimensional standards or other comments, I'll move on to 90.3, the standards for the village marketplace conditional use, now proposed to be standards for village development. So, as requested, the village marketplace conditional use is removed. However, in looking at the standards that were set out for the village marketplace, I had the thought that any larger proposal that is of a primarily non-residential character, we might still want to have a set of standards in place to talk about the site design, require some open space, some common area, that we don't necessarily want to scrap all of those standards. So this pared down version of standards is what I offer as kind of a salvage of the village marketplace.
This is 170-90.3.
90.3,
Okay,
yes,
thank you.
correct. So 170-90.3 proposed to be the standards for village development. So this is proposed to apply to tracts of 5 acres or more, which are consisting of non-residential or mixed-use buildings. So it could be a part of a development that also includes residential, but those are handled separately in this ordinance.
And it's just strictly commercial?
Right. So
Okay.
this is focusing on the commercial aspect of it.
Okay.
So illustrated there on screen is what a 5-acre area, roughly a square, looks like in relation to the center. Okay.
Yeah, John, when I read this, I thought it was well-written. The only thing that I thought would be advantageous is you have a statement here, unify site design plan for safe, efficient, and convenient operation that includes a harmonious arrangement of 3 or more architectural compatible buildings. I was hoping to bump that up to 4 or more.
Okay.
Especially if you're talking about something that might potentially on a smaller lot have a higher density of commercial. I mean, I would want to provide the option instead of just a whole bunch of big buildings to have more smaller ones.
Certainly.
And give them the option that not just 3, it says or more, but
Right.
to set like a standard, like we're looking for this many in this
Right.
particular area.
Right, and I believe that with the requested changes regarding the size of other commercial buildings to 7,500 square feet, changing from 3 to 4 is a natural change. It corresponds with that.
If you're going to reduce, allow more.
Yeah. All right. So there's wording changes throughout to take out reference to the village marketplace. Everything pertaining to the composition of the village marketplace is gone. The supermarket building dimensions and all mention of the supermarket are gone. This is no longer something focused on the supermarket, with that single anchor. This is simply anything that is commercial of that 5 acres or more. So retaining setback requirements, vehicle access. I changed the wording here slightly to specify that vehicular access for parking lots and driveways is what is being regulated. So the intention here is to ensure that a development of this size is not putting driveways directly on the arterials. If they have to make some new access on the arterials, that they are constructing it as a local street, something more suited to the traffic that might be involved, and also to better support any adjacent development and the goals of connected development.
John, I'm sorry, when I looked through this, the one thing that I thought it was you've done a great job of everything. Let me just start by saying that. The one thing that I thought would be beneficial is to indicate, like under the vehicular access parking and loading, that we could have, they could have a shared joint village parking area, so that we could aggregate some of so that if we do have a village square or green or whatever, and most of the commercial stuff is hanging in that area, that would be, if you could put a small parking lot adjacent to that, that people could park there instead of everybody just trying to park on the street and behind the buildings. That's just a thought. I don't know if that's something we could, I made it letter D under your access thing.
And that's under vehicular access, parking and loading?
Yeah.
So a shared parking lot, like a municipal parking lot?
Yeah, that was my thought, is municipal parking. Because we're going to have, if we're lucky enough to get a number of retail enterprises and they'll probably wind up hanging out or
Well, I would
in the
imagine
same
that there
area,
are
you'll
parking
want-
requirements for all of these structures. I don't think we're going to toss them in there and not account for parking that's supposed to go in between and behind. Is that correct, John?
Yeah.
And in this section 90.3, there is a separate section for parking standards. It's under D, additional overall standards.
You lost it.
Okay, where were we? Parking standards. So in the parking standards section, it's got point A, parking capacity, and point B, additional capacity. Under additional capacity, there is a section for shared parking, talking about how the applicant can demonstrate the adequacy of a shared parking standard. Previously, I have proposed adopting a conventional shared parking, parking capacity table, which is commonly used in other municipalities to calculate the expected demand for parking, that each use at different times of day and different times in the week would have, so that the expected need for parking can be adjusted.
So when the tenants upstairs are at work, the businesses down below can use the parking, and then when the business closes, everybody comes home and they have some place to park.
That's the way it should be, shared park.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Some hours, you have people there, this store, and another store, it's shared park.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely. And some businesses close down at 5 o'clock and others don't really start up until 5 o'clock. So I think shared parking is something we should definitely make use
I'm
of.
totally on board with that.
All right, okay.
Yeah.
And I don't think we want to put in any more impervious surface than we need and just have empty parking
Right,
spaces like
exactly.
we already have.
I mean, we're trying to
Sounds good
eliminate
me,
it.
yes.
All right. Also in those parking standards, I changed what the parking standards are indexed to. Currently in the Village Marketplace standards, it's all tied to the gross leasable retail area. I've just changed it to the building area and adjusted the number of spaces then that are tied to that to try and compensate for that.
Is it possible to restrict residential parking towards the back of the building versus the front of the building? This way, residential or occupants above who do night shift, for example, and have to park during the day, couldn't the parking be reserved in the back specifically for residential occupancy?
Certainly that could be done. I've not seen that in ordinances. I think it's generally a popular practice among people,
Okay.
among developers. But certainly that could be added.
So it could be added, you said?
Yes, is that
Okay.
a request? Generally,
So what this is to, to restrict parking, what does,
So instead of the resident, like the occupants above the shops, having to look for parking because it's occupied, let's say they have a night shift, there's nurses, they would park in the back of the building
right?
instead of the front. So this way, they always have their parking spot. There's no one, fighting for parking.
Well, I think in general, the way that this is being done, configured is that with shared parking, there is no parking in the front of anything. Am I clear on that? Or are we going to have on-street parking? Let's put it that way. Have we even considered on-street parking? But if we're doing all this shared parking with parking that's supposed to be behind and between.
Right. The way I was interpreting Supervisor Duran's request was to have the residential, the residence parking, if there is resident parking set aside, to have that, be to the rear of the buildings.
Right, so we're talking about like the apartments above the stores.
Right.
So instead
Accounting for
of,
people who are going to be home during the day.
would park behind the commercial buildings
Right.
versus the front. This way, they're not having to fight over parking. They're not having to worry about coming home and not finding parking after a long overnight shift, for example.
No, I get it.
Kind
To be
of
honest
like,
with you, I don't
yep.
think you're gonna see too many people build on top for a living, because there's been a lot of problems with the Mannings with their ones, and they were even in here and said that. You just got a lot of noise from, and they don't, it just doesn't work. I think you're gonna see it, that you're not gonna see that.
Okay. All right.
Well, yeah, okay, let's, just for the purpose of the discussion, let's say there's two residential, or two dedicated residential spots, because there's a residential unit on top. I could see that being appropriate to have those dedicated parking spots behind for any residents. If you don't have residents, they don't put the sign up saying dedicated to the residents. I mean, I don't know whether that's something we put in the code, or is that something that's?
Yes, certainly. That's something that I could add to that parking standard section to, kind of separate that from the shared parking mix. So those required spaces required for the residential uses, if there are any, would be separate from the general patron, business owner, client, shared parking area.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a good fix. If there are no apartments above things, then it's not relevant. But if there are, then it kicks in. So
Okay.
it gets covered.
Okay, that makes sense.
All right. And that actually brings me to the end of the proposed changes of the Village Marketplace, now Village Development Standards section. If there are no questions on that, I'm going to just take us to the last point, which is in 90.4, the standards for residential development. So what's proposed here is coming out of the discussion last month about the village feel, the desire for there to be a mix of lot sizes. So, as discussed, what's on screen here right now is about how much of a development can be purely residential. But on the next slide, we've got some discussion of how to get that kind of natural feeling, natural looking, variation. So what's proposed is just a couple of standards applying to residential developments of 10 or more lots, saying that no more than 3 lots in a row can be of the same width. This allows for, your twins, they can be side by side, that's okay. They don't have to be mismatched. And, they can have one more along for the ride there, allowing for some flexibility in site design before you have to change it up. And when, adjacent lots are of different widths, just, require that they be different by 5 feet or greater. So it's.
Forgive me, did I see or did I not see something here that gives guidance on different setbacks? So that things are staggered this way, not just difference in, you can have 20 homes in a row and have 3 and 3 and 3 and have different widths this way, but setback, like a.
Sorry, did I miss some feedback regarding a desire for different front yard depths or different
I
building
don't think
setbacks?
so.
Okay.
I think this is like like one of those, gee, let's consider that moments.
Oh, okay. What's the feeling of the board? Right now, there's nothing proposed that would require any changes like that. You know, if someone followed the letter of, you know, the ordinance as proposed and just went with the simplest thing, you know, minimum setbacks, you'd get, you know, a fairly consistent kind of row of building fronts.
Right.
So,
And not like a more staggered kind of,
Well, I think with the different building types, you're going to get that feeling that it's not cookie cutter. I think that's going to give that to you. The buildings are all going to look different.
okay.
So I'm not as, and I think that in itself is going to give us a lot of variety.
okay.
And the lots are smaller, so it's going to be challenging to have too much difference, just because they're all so small.
Yeah, and this purely relates to the residential, right? We're not talking where we have residential mixed with commercial.
That's right. We're talking about the
Strictly residential.
Strictly
Yeah.
residential, okay.
Everything that's 100% residential.
Yeah, okay.
I was pretty happy with everything I saw in here.
Okay.
Along with the open space requirements. I really didn't have any, I don't have any notes in here, so I'm pretty settled with it if anybody has anything they wanted to add.
No, no.
I don't know if I should even say this because it may sound, it would be great if we could encourage bike riding. I mean, I don't know if we can, maybe this comes in the land development process, but it'd be great if we could encourage, you know, store owners to put bike racks in front of their stores or things like that. I don't know if that's something we can put in there or encourage, but if we want walkability and bikeability, then
Is that in design, would that be more in like a
Is there a
design
place to put
standard?
your bike?
It certainly could be. One approach that's taken, you know, next door in Schwenksville is allowing for a business to substitute some of their required off-street parking up to a certain amount. You know, there's a proposal. There's a proposal that I just reviewed
Jason, why don't you give him yours?
that, you know, is replacing 2 parking spaces with, you know, parking for 16 bicycles. So you have that 8-to-1.
that sounds great. I love that. Because, I mean, the whole point of this is we want people to walk and bike and, you know, not have cars. So if we could have
It's very friendly for a small business as well. You know, and if you want to save on impervious area, reduce the amount of parking, this is one way that you can kind of get both.
what are the thoughts? I mean, we don't want to, obviously, we'd only replace 2 parking spaces, but if we could get some bike racks in, I think that would be, kind of meet some of our goals.
Dan, did you want to add something?
And, sorry, John. We're in section 170.90.4, right? If I'm correct?
Yes.
Did we skip over letter A? Because there you called for a minimum, so that I got confused with something you just recently said. A says a minimum of 40% of the development tract's original land area shall be used for non-residential uses or for buildings with a mix of non-residential and residential uses. I was going to recommend putting a range in there instead of fixing it at 40%, because that could be high. I mean, I was thinking something along the line of 25 to 35.
Like a ratio of residential to commercial to open space.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unless I'm misinterpreting what letter A means. It could be.
Well, Dan, what that establishes is the minimum amount of Okay, okay. The minimum amount of a tract that has to be set aside for the non-residential uses or uses that are mixed uses. So in the original vision, I think, of the Village Mixed Use District, it had like a kind of heavily commercial focus. And so that was, that's currently set at 50%. I reduced that to.
I'm good with 40%. I didn't
Okay.
know whether, instead of making it a rigid, and, because this assumes that somebody's coming along and developing, and rather than force them to do 40%, give them a range of like 35 to 45%. Yeah.
So we're just establishing a minimum.
Okay.
So
They can always go more. Okay, I got
Right.
it.
Yeah.
40% seemed like a reasonable minimum for that's the non-residential, that's the commercial or retail stuff, right?
Well, also keep in mind, when you consider things like parking spaces, that can add up quick. So it sounds like a lot, but it really isn't, I don't think, as much as it sounds when you consider some of the other infrastructure. But can I have thoughts on encouraging bike use?
I'm all for it, but I think we can address it in another place other than this code here. I think that can be addressed in the design standards, or,
It could be, yeah.
I mean, I don't know how
the
would
design
we write
standards
that
can
into this?
certainly, so there are lots of things that we can do to.
I got the goblins or something. Requiring sidewalks force bike use, that would help bike use.
Well, we're hoping there's going to be sidewalks, yes.
Yeah.
It's the pedestrian
What do you do with your
circulation.
So bike parking and well-designed bike parking is a big factor in supporting bike use, but so is street design. The kind of design intent of the village mixed use in making it walkable and establishing a network of connected local streets does a lot to help out in that regard. Having alleyways or smaller access drives helps out.
So I'm wondering if maybe we could add something into the parking that stipulates for bike parking, or I'm just trying to figure out how we would integrate that into this particular part of the code unless it's not appropriate for here.
I think.
Because also what I'm thinking is, and this is not going to happen tomorrow, but eventually it would be great if we could, connect, get people safely from the Perkiomen Trail up to the village. And so if that does eventually happen, we would want them to be able to hang out and
Yes.
park their bikes.
Yep.
So just thinking ahead.
Certainly. So I would wholeheartedly endorse, measures to encourage bike parking. What I offered was, establishing a ratio, perhaps just borrowing from Schwenksville, the 8-to-1 ratio, allowing for a certain number of off-street parking spaces that are required to be provided to be substituted for bike parking, of a certain, minimum design standard. That would establish bike parking while also helping to reduce the impervious cover. Thoughts on that? I think there's a sensible cap that you can establish on that. At a certain point, you don't really need dozens and dozens of bike spaces for.
I'd be willing to look at
handful of
something,
businesses.
absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Dan?
Yeah, I think having like those metal bike racks that you can lock your bike to, usually hold about 4 bikes, or even though it's supposed to hold 8, you can't really jam the wheels together. But Yeah, so I think that would be good to have. The other thing you mentioned in this section is about a neighbor, a large neighbor. Let's say we are fortunate enough to get open space to the point that we have a rectangular piece of open space, and we're using straight, old-fashioned grid-style roads, which are consistent with historic villages in Pennsylvania, right? Would it be possible to, again, and also to encourage the retail and so forth, could we dictate that this rectangular green area, the traffic goes around in one direction, and they bail out at the four corners? Is that something that's just something we could put in the plan, the code or ordinance, or is that something that would have to be done at a different point in time?
My inclination is to say that's something to handle separately, but Carol, if I could call on you for your opinion on this matter, what are your thoughts on requiring a one-way street at a certain location in the village mixed use?
I fear that's going to be a real challenge depending on the configuration of the lot and the development. I think that's something that you would approach when you're at a sketch plan phase with the developer in front of the planning commission and/or this board. That would be my suggestion.
Yeah, thanks, Carol. I agree with you. I mean, it's just something I thought that, and then when we get to sketch plan with somebody, it would be something worthwhile to think about because they benefit and we're trying to be pedestrian focused. So if you have a one-way street, it's a lot safer for the pedestrians, especially if that's where all the retail is hanging out. So just a thought, but thank you both.
Okay. Have we come to the end of all of your?
Yes, we have gone through everything I brought tonight. There are no other requests from the board.
I just have two things real quick I wanted to throw in here. Okay. So in the mixed-use buildings consisting of one or more dwelling units located at the same building with one or more permitted non-residential uses, provided that no more than 4 dwelling units shall be permitted in one building and that the non-residential floor area shall be greater to or equal to half of the total residential floor area permitted as a new building or as a conversion or an addition to an existing building. That's great. It absolutely supports the idea that we're trying to support the viability of the small mixed use, like the village or the live work. I guess, do you have any recommendations on language that could be added that stipulates that the ground floor use, like maybe some ground floor use regulations to ensure that these live work and or first floor commercial are adhered to? I guess my concern would be that without some ground floor regulation, that we're going to get a base structure on the first floor where this is so open written that it could just be flipped to a residential unit as opposed to a commercial.
That's a fair point. And yes, we do have standards I can draw upon to require that the whole of the ground floor or at least the ground floor frontage area.
That was my other point, was to at least give the option that if they want to make the front of the unit commercial and still have a living unit in the back, maybe limit, there's no home occupation amenities in the front, just have them in the back, higher ceilings, flush entries, anything that would kind of designate that as a first floor commercial building. And then obviously to stipulate at some other point in time that it cannot be converted to residential after it's been commercial. But that brings me to another side of this, and we're talking about all this new stuff. I want to talk about the people who still live there, who may want to convert the first floor of their home into some sort of a business. And I feel like this proportionality regulation with greater than or equal to 1.5 the total of the residential floor area, maybe we should include language that exempts them from this rule. Strictly for new construction, but for someone who already has a home who wants to convert their first floor into a business, that they not have to abide by that particular greater than or equal to half of the residential floor area. That would be an expense that would prevent someone from wanting to do that.
Okay. Yes, so to address your concern regarding conversion of, existing dwelling, yeah, I could set them, with a separate set of standards to, not require the commercial unit to be of that size.
Say that again.
So what I'm hearing from you is that your concern is that, an existing residence being converted to a mixed use.
If they wanted to, like an
If
existing
they wanted to,
dwelling
yeah.
somewhere on one of our, there's not a whole lot of them left, but if they wanted to convert their first floor, that maybe we can say existing buildings constructed prior to the date of the enactment of this ordinance shall be exempt from this. And that would take care of that.
Okay. Yeah, that would
Does
work.
anybody have any thoughts on that? Objection?
No, I actually agree with that. I think that would be a great look in addition to the village mixed use.
We can't just make it all about the new stuff. We have to think about the people that are still there
Yeah.
and giving them an option.
Right. And to further kind of just explore the point, that conversion, we're talking very often about, people converting their living space to commercial space. And, maybe it's just changing things to better suit, the size of their household, to better accommodate, this business or workspace that they want to make. But having that requirement there that the non-residential, occupy at least a third of the building's floor area.
Right.
Right. Kind of ties their hands a little bit. So conversion is a tricky thing. And so I'm happy to take your point on and revise the standards to allow for more flexibility for the conversions.
Okay. The only other thing I have here, I'll make this real quick, would be you have it in two locations. It's the accessory uses. It's in two different places. I'm going to try and find the language here super, super quick. Accessory uses on the same lot and customarily incidental and subordinate to the principal uses listed herein. And we did have, I think within the contractors' establishments, and I think, did we get rid of that or we just do the? Okay, we got rid of it.
Just so these guys know, this is the last item in 170-86.
Yes, it's listed as J, and then it's listed somewhere else. My concern on that is accessory uses on the same lot, and within the context of the contractors' establishments, it was allowing for outdoor storage, which was kind of contradicted itself, where it said you can't have accessory uses that are, they have to be enclosed, and then outdoor uses, but I don't think there should be outdoor allowance of outdoor storage of anything. It should be enclosed. But more importantly, I was thinking that maybe we should be asking for some dimensional specifics so that maybe the accessory isn't like dwarfing the primary. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay, so that we would put if you're using an accessory use for storage of whatever you're doing, or an accessory use for another use, whatever it be, that it not exceed the primary principal use that's already there. Does anyone have anything to add to that? Any questions on that?
Well, I don't think it should be the same size as the primary. Maybe we can say it can't exceed 50% of the size. Would that be fair? You don't want it to be the same size if it's an accessory use.
So an accessory use could be a shed.
That'd be a pretty big shed.
It'd be a pretty darn big shed. Could also be somebody who wants to have maybe a pole barn in there, and behind the primary use, of course, that's going to be dictated by the size of what we allow. Do we allow an accessory use to be larger than the principal?
Yeah, I think the only situation where I commonly see that is in agricultural uses, and those are typically exempted, so.
Okay. And we don't have that here, so we're good.
No,
Okay.
that's not on the table here, so.
All right, I just wanted to kick the tires on that, get some thoughts on it, but, okay.
Yeah, the exact wording says uses on the same lot and customarily incidental and subordinate to the principal uses listed herein. And what confuses, what I don't know whether there's enough definition of is, you're saying customarily incidental and subordinate. That language is kind of, would allow you to almost, let's say I'm running a pottery shop. I could then say my incidental use, I'm going to build something in the back and I'm going to sell kiln ovens, which is, I could construe as incidental, but that's really not supporting my pottery business. It's supporting a different. So I don't know how we write that. I think the language is a little bit, I don't know how to make the language tighter. I mean, we could ask a solicitor or something to tighten that language.
I'm going to be honest, I would have no objection if somebody wants to have a business running out of the principal use and they have a subordinate use in the back. I don't think if it's not the same thing, I really don't care as long as it's allowable.
Okay, if you don't care.
No.
Then we should not, then we shouldn't have the fact that it
I
has
don't care.
to be.
I don't think that there's, when they say incidental or subordinate, it's like, just because you have a pottery shop, you need to have pottery storage. That's all that can be, is it has to do with whatever you're doing in the front. If you want to have two different incidental things going on, knock yourself out.
So to ensure that the accessory uses are indeed incidental and subordinate, am I hearing that they should be limited to 50% the building footprint of the primary use? Is that the general direction here?
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I like that. And I would drop
It's a good
the word
ratio.
customarily.
Very easy fix.
I wouldn't even know where to begin on the ratio, but if everybody seems okay on 50%, then I'll go with 50%.
Yeah, I
It's
guess
not something I looked into, so
the only word I'm tripping over is the customarily. That kind of indicates that it's related to, but I mean, if you can get rid of that and it means the same thing, incidental and subordinate to the principal, and you don't need to customarily.
Can we have a legal opinion on customarily? Maybe that's a legal term.
I don't think it matters.
I think it's how you define it.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think it's a legal term. I mean, just like using the word reasonable.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think it's fair
Okay.
to pigeonhole people into, the only way you can have an accessory use is if it has something to do with whatever you're doing in your principal use.
Okay.
Yeah.
I concede the point.
Okey doke. All right, that's all I had. Does anyone have any other questions, any other comments?
I just want to thank John for all the time and energy he put into
Great
this
job.
to make it into a really
Really great
robust ordinance. And I know it's been a little excruciating for all of us at times, but I think it's a really good product, so thank you.
Yeah, I want to thank you very much, John. You did an awesome job, and you're getting voices from 5 different directions all at the same time, and you've managed to cohesively glue them together. So I really appreciate that.
So my next question is, the design standards book.
It's in progress.
It's a work in progress?
I've got to spend some time out here taking photographs to, get the references.
I would
built out,
appreciate
but,
that,
yeah.
I mean, they say, well, go look at this and go look at that. And it's like, well, if you really want to know what's here, just take a look at what's already here.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes the most sense. If you want any help with that, I can help you with that. I'd be happy to take pictures.
My inbox is open if any of you, or if you're willing to open it to the public, I'm happy to accept and use photographs submitted by residents here.
So can you give us a realistic timeline on when you think that might be available?
I would like to have a draft for you next month, if that's all right.
So like the next general
Look at
meeting?
this. Yeah.
Okay. That's something to shoot for in the beginning of August.
All right.
Okay. Diane, did you have a question? Can you please come up? Diane Joran?
Maybe this will, thank you, be in the design standards, but I think somebody asked about, would there be on-street parking? Or will that parking be So I don't know if that was answered. I just want to tell you that where you were talking about where the Manning's 3 different shops are and the ice cream shop is there, that when people park across the street and their children get out, it's sort of like it's a thoroughfare back there sometimes for people going from Mr. Lee's to CVS. And it's wide and I don't think it's very delineated, so I would
The
hope
whole
that-
goal of this is to keep things compact and safe for
So-
pedestrians.
so that's
and
gonna-
non-car centric.
That's going to happen.
Right.
So I'll find out at a later date if there's on-street parking or not.
To be determined, yes.
To be determined. Thank you.
I think we have someone on Facebook. Oh, I'm sorry, Zoom. My apologies. Go ahead, Linda. You can unmute yourself.
Hi. I just wanted to let John know, because he's put so much effort into this. But when we did our historical resource survey, back in 2015 and 2016, in partnership with the Pennsylvania Historical Museum Commission, one of the areas that I was tasked with was the village mixed use area, the Zieglersville district. I have photographs of every home that's in there with an architectural professional, delegating what style it is. So unfortunately, that information's on my old computer. I don't know if I can access it. I do have paper copies of all the photographs and the forms filled out. The predominant architectural style was there were 2 out of the 60 buildings. Mostly it was Greek Revival and Gothic Revival, mid-19th century, like from the Victorian era. So I don't know if that would be helpful. I do not have the ability to copy them, but if you could copy them, I'd be more than happy to provide you with my paper files or provide the township with them. At least that way we'd have them, on record somewhere. So if that would be helpful, and you may also be able to reference it via the Pennsylvania website. I believe it's called PA Share. I can send you the link to it, and then you just go to the Zieglersville district, and hopefully the information is there for the public to access.
Okay, terrific. Thank you, Linda. Appreciate that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Well, I think, so design standards, next general meeting. And you've got some good feedback here. Thank you very much. Everyone participated. I was very happy to see that.
And John, the revised version, you think we'll get that at the same time as the design standards, or?
Yes, that's the intent.
Fantastic.
That would be
Thank
the
you so
intent,
much.
yes. Okay. All right, that is the last item on our agenda. Next up is public comments. Warren?
Testing. Warren Jacobs, Fulham Road. I wasn't at the last meeting. I watched it on video. One of the things that I noticed were that there were 2 different comments, one from one of the supervisors and one from the solicitor, that referenced plans that have already been, or not plans, but proposals that have already been submitted to the township by a developer. And I wonder, one, whether or not those, whenever that comes to fruition, which zoning is going to apply to that, the current zoning or this new village mixed use ordinance that I assume is going to be approved pretty soon. And the other thing I wonder is at what point in this process will the public get to know about what is going on here? So if anybody would like to make a comment on that, I'd appreciate it. If not, I'll understand.
Nothing formal has been applied for at this time, so there's nothing to share with the public at this time. We have someone on Zoom. Yep, Brian, go ahead. Brian, I think you're still muted. Okay, we'll give him a couple minutes. He's still trying. Okay.
There we go. Hi,
There you
yeah,
go. Okay.
Brian Hill, 11 Zieglerville Road. I'd like to see if there's any comment this evening. I know I received a letter along with other members of Zieglerville Road regarding a survey regarding public sewer on our street. I know that several months ago, there was a petition or some type of movement towards applying for a grant for funds for that. I was wondering if there's an update on any of that regarding Zieglerville Road.
As far as I'm aware of, the grant was applied for back at the end of November, and those usually typically take about a year, so we might not hear anything until this coming November.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, Noel.
Oh, go ahead, Bob.
Bob Burns, Zieglerville Road. Yeah, I just wanted to ask the question whether or not any developers have been in on any new projects, residential or commercial.
As I answered to Warren, we haven't received anything formal at this time, Bob. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, is there any other public comment? Mr. Stokes?
Is this working? Preston Stokes, 156 Diner Way, the Farmview community. This is in relation to the pool deck variance. It was communicated to me yesterday that our proposed new design was not acceptable to the board. I'm here requesting acceptance of a 2% impervious coverage variance, which would be 234 square feet. We will remove all other variance requests, including the pool setbacks. We'll shrink the pool to fit within the 25-foot setbacks to accomplish this, which further addresses one of the board members' comments from the last general meeting. So my request is for 2% excess variance coverage for the 33%.
Do you have an updated plan?
I have a drawing of what it would look like.
I mean, what's the process, Jason and Colby?
He would have to apply to the zoning hearing.
Yeah.
I've already submitted this. It's more or less that I've been told that I'm legally opposed at every turn here, so I have to get the board's approval before I can go to the zoning hearing board.
You don't need our approval to go before the zoning hearing board.
So respectfully, the solicitor for the zoning hearing board has basically communicated that whether I go before the zoning hearing board or not with legal opposition from this board, it doesn't matter what that board says. You guys could tie me up in court for 4 or 5 years. So I don't want to do that. It was recommended that I just, whatever you guys need and whatever we need to come to an agreement. I thought based on the last meeting and the conversations that I've had with the solicitor here and the solicitor at the zoning hearing board and the members of this board at the last general meeting I was at, that there was somewhere, there was a middle ground and we had to find it. And I believe the comment was you're trying to cut the mustard and I didn't know where I was trying to get to. So I'm trying to understand what I can do. I'm dropping everything. I'm just going to 2%.
Can I take a look?
Yep.
Sorry, Colby, just for your information, he put it in for a zoning hearing board, and the main objection at that time from the board was the impervious surface. But we can't say, we can't say anything in a public comment.
All the way to the 25 feet back. So I'm just trying to squeeze the pool, and you asked me to shrink the pool, so I'm trying to meet that standard without needing a variance.
Make any comments
It would just be 2%
at this
for the
time. I mean, the process is to submit to the zoning hearing board. Whether or not you oppose is up to the board, but you're not going to make that decision now. You're going to make that decision when everything comes in front of you and whether or not you're going to oppose it. So I don't think that you can determine whether or not, and I don't think it's a negotiating, you're not going to negotiate this before it goes to the zoning hearing board. You need to apply to the zoning hearing board. If you already have put it in, then you should amend it. So almost like you're pulling it out and amending it back and then reschedule that zoning hearing board. And then you're going to have to determine whether or not you're going to oppose that. But that would be something that would be done at another meeting.
Respectfully, I've been told by numerous people, lawyers alike, that really it would just be, to me, the professional thing is just whatever you guys are willing to do, I can just make the plan, match that, submit that, and then there's no back and forth. Like, I've been having a very hard time getting any communication from your solicitor, from the township. I've been having a very, very difficult time. I was asked to delay the zoning hearing board, so I delayed it. And then there's been almost no communication without me walking into this office to get an answer. So I don't know what else to do. Like, I've tried.
I think what Colby is saying is, if you submit an amended application at that point, then we can, again, look at it. But I don't think in this forum he's advising us not to say anything.
You're in a public comment arena. This is not something that they're going to negotiate anything right now. And we don't have anything concrete that you've placed in front of us. So
I did place concrete.
This is also not on our agenda this evening, so it's not something we will be able to discuss. This is just public comment.
Which is 3 minutes I was allotted, right? I've been able to get no response from anybody, so that's why I'm here.
Well, it's because this is a zoning hearing board issue. It's not.
I completely understand your frustration. I have had to deal with my own building things on my property. But there are procedures that we have to go through in order to ensure that our township stays the way it should stay. I'm going to try and keep it as minimal as possible. I understand your frustration. I really do. If I can sit here for an hour and explain to you the hoops and things that I had to go through and pay thousands of dollars for, especially with blueprints, because I know what that is. I know how much this costs. If you could resubmit that, we can do things properly.
But I did, and I have not gotten
You
communication.
resubmitted it to get onto the agenda? That's what we're requesting.
Yes, I requested for 3 weeks now to get on this agenda.
Okay, are you able to,
You didn't put in an amendment to your zoning application.
I was not told that that was needed. I was literally told by your counterpart that I just needed to submit the designs to the board because the board was the one opposing me. I didn't need to go to the zoning hearing board. They're not opposing me. They're going to hear my case when I go to present it, right?
They are. They have
Okay,
the jurisdiction
so they're the
over
one
anything
legally-
zoning, and whether or not the township goes in to oppose that is up to the township.
Which is why I try to discuss with them. their
I
issues.
understand what you're trying to do, but that's not the process. The process is you going and putting forth your case in front of the zoning hearing board, and whether or not they go in. If you did it at 6% and you got turned down, you could resubmit one for 2%.
which is the proper procedure?
But I did that. I did that.
You haven't had a hearing yet.
I was told not to go to the hearing with their opposition by your solicitor at the zoning hearing board.
What he probably told you is that you're probably going to lose.
Because they're there. So
Because
figure
they're
it out
there
with
and
them.
opposing it. So you can change it.
I did. I'm trying to. I don't know what else I'm supposed to do.
You need to submit an amended zoning application.
Communication, to me, is a big thing. It is fundamental to everything that I do. When I operate a nuclear power plant, communication is key. The amount of mixed signals I've gotten through the entirety of this process is like disrespectful. Okay, I know there's business owners on the board, and I know that a business owner would not be appreciative if their business was found to be communicating with a client the way mine has been communicated with.
I apologize if that's the way you feel. However, you are going for or requesting a variance. There is nothing that this board has to do to provide you that variance. Either you can get that in front of the zoning hearing board or not, whether they impose or not.
Respectfully, you haven't been part of the conversation, so I don't feel like your opinion on this is relevant. You don't know what has occurred.
Okay.
Do you have any experience on what has occurred in the last 2.5 months?
I have heard some of it, but I'm just telling you from a general sense what a zoning hearing is.
I know.
Not necessarily what you're going through, it's what everybody goes through. If you are requesting a variance, you are saying legally I'm entitled to this because I meet all the factors that are there. What you're telling me is that you don't meet a variance, and what you're doing is pleading that we don't come in and oppose it.
Trying to address your concerns.
Well,
Whatever your
and
concerns
that's
are,
fine.
address them.
You can do that
That's the
at
way
the
you do it.
zoning hearing, not at a public meeting.
Sorry, I think what he needs to do, Colby, is submit a revised plan, and then it can come before us again.
No, I actually think that, I think as we stand right now, the Board of Supervisors is bound to uphold the township zoning ordinance. And the limitation on the impervious surfaces is codified in law. It's not subjective, this isn't up for negotiation, because your proposed property doesn't comply with those limits, and I believe that it was specified that the limit was 33%, where we wouldn't be in opposition. And I don't think that the board at this time is going to be changing its opposition, but I think what you should do is, if you have done what you said, take that before the zoning hearing board and present it to them and go forward. But that's where your energy should be, because I don't believe we're changing our position here.
Respectfully, the communication should have been different then, because everyone on this board led me to believe that there was some middle ground.
I'm not sure I can concur with you on that.
I
I
have the
didn't
video
speak to
proof.
you
I
at all. I
recorded.
didn't speak
I
to you at all, but I personally remember telling you the number was 33%.
Thank you for your time. I do believe that there's a prejudice towards the developed communities here in this case. There's been dozens of variances and no legal opposition for things that don't meet a true hardship. And this is the first one that I know of where there's been a legal opposition for an impervious coverage variance request. And the lack of communication feels disrespectful to the point where I feel like we need somebody who lives in the residential communities to have some voice and representation on this board. I'm not sure when it's next year. I've already looked it up, and either I will be running or I'll be backing somebody who wants to run. This is ridiculous.
I live in a residential community, sir. I live in a residential community.
And I addressed every one of your concerns.
And my recommendation is provide a revised plan, and then it'll come before us again, and we can consider it. If you've come down significantly.
I'll do it again. I've done that.
No, I mean, then
Have
get on the agenda.
you also taken into consideration, there is another property in your community that has a pool?
I have, absolutely, and that's
Okay.
why I'm here.
Did you look at the dimensions
I know
on that?
exactly what all their property dimensions are. That doesn't mean that a variance is supposed to be independent. They're not supposed to be, there's no precedent that's supposed to be used in a variance. Okay, you don't use precedent. Every lot is supposed to be considered by its own individual merits. And I'm willing to discuss those and have been willing to discuss with zero communication. That's all I've been asking for, is a simple yes or no throughout the process, and I've been ignored.
So I'm curious, what has been communicated with you?
This is just from this board. You, ma'am, asked me if I could shrink the pool. So I shrank the pool. I was asked to shrink the deck, so I shrank the deck. I was asked if I provided perk testing results to the board, that those stormwater calculations, if Carol came out, she was actually out there, so I went and had them done just to be able to provide that data, and that data was ignored. I was asked to shrink the impervious coverage, and then I was asked to delay the zoning hearing to figure it out by numerous solicitors in this township, just to make sure that we could all come to a consensus before I went to the zoning hearing board, so that I didn't have to go through an opposition. The point would be to make sure that your concerns are addressed. I have literally done everything you've asked me to, and that was the communication. It was not that 33% or nothing, because I wouldn't even need to come here if that was the case. If your answer was 33% or nothing, we're going to legally oppose you, then I wouldn't even be here.
Well, that's the code, 33%
But that's not
maximum.
how a variance request goes, and that's not the communication I received. The communication was, provide perk testing results. Will you shrink the pool? That's what, you guys said that to me 2 months ago, did you not?
That didn't come out of my,
Sir, if you want to move forward with this, as Colby suggested,
I was trying to answer Crystal's question.
okay, just provide an
And I
amended.
appreciate that. If you can definitely, like what Marla's suggesting, then that's when we can discuss further details or any requests that we would like.
I will submit them again.
Thank you so much. Have a great evening. I'm sorry about that, but I absolutely understand your frustration, believe me.
Just please communicate with me.
okay, we're at the end of public comment. I don't see anyone on Zoom, anyone in the audience. This is supervisor comments. Does any supervisor have any comments? Okay, not seeing any. This meeting is adjourned.